So the question that I know we have some new people, some people that have been around a minute, some in between. So I wanted to answer the question of how did I go, for anybody that doesn't know me or know my situation, my first 4 months in high ticket sales, I made a whopping $3,100. You might be like, oh, $3,100 a month, that's not bad. No, $3,100 total. Total. Even worse, when I started to calculate it, I was making about $4 an hour. And I was working 12-hour night shifts because I was in Korea at the time. So I started my work at 9 p.m. and then worked till 9 a.m. That was not what I seen in the ads. That was not what I showed up for. So I could say, fuck these guys, everything's a scam, this is bullshit. Maybe I'll try copywriting, maybe I'll start an e-commerce store, maybe I'll start a social media agency, or I can diagnose what's happening, make adjustments, get back in, right? So then my first 4 months, I made $3,100. My next 4 months, I made $120,000. I believe, don't quote me on this, but it's about a 3,800% return, give or take. Right? So what did I do? Did I invest in sales training? Did I get really lucky in a pipeline? Did I go to a seminar for objection handling? No. I made a few minor adjustments that changed my life forever. Those next 12 months, I made $438,000, almost $500,000. I know it sounds stupid, but growing up, I didn't think that, I thought there was nothing that happened between 100,000 and 1,000,000. I know it sounds weird, but I thought like doctors, lawyers, engineers make 100,000 and then that's it. And then only like celebrities, basketball, athletes, rock stars made 1,000,000. I never even thought that someone in a career could make $400,000 a year. And I celebrated. I brought all my friends to Europe, paid for their plane ticket, balled out, had an amazing time, right? And my life was changed forever. So how did this happen? Right? Well, the first thing is, again, I diagnosed. I decided to take things into my own hand and not wait and not let things spiral, right? And so I always historically start with the mental game. Because if I can get my mental game in, then if I have the mental attributes to be able to move forward, then it's only a matter of when, right? And so I started playing the mental game in this business and diagnosing. And so the first change was I started looking around and figuring out what wasn't working. And then again, looking for examples of was it just not working for me or was it not working for a lot of people? And what I found by going out there and getting curious, because curiosity is such an attractive quality and it allows you to open up more opportunity, right? The more curious I got, the more I realized that there was a lot of people doing the exact same thing and struggling. So I thought, okay, this is a model for what not to do, right? And I identified a few core aspects that were allowing me to struggle and also things I didn't enjoy, right? One, job applications. I hated them. They were time consuming. They weren't working out. I wasn't getting opportunities from them. The ones who were responding were $1,200 a month or startups, right? It was just wasting my time. Two, these cold outreach, transactional cold outreach, where I'm just like, hey, I'm a high ticket closer. Are you looking for anybody? I didn't seem to be getting a response rate. I was getting ignored. I was kind of getting treated like I'm lower than anybody else, right? And the other one was this kind of idea of starting from the bottom and working my way up. And so I started there. I was like, I don't know what the hell to do. I don't know what works, but I know what doesn't work. Right. And so it may be a stupid idea, but I was like, well, what if I did the opposite of what's not working? What would happen then? So I started breaking those down. I'm like, well, okay, starting at the bottom and working my way up, it's pretty simple. What if I started at the top and work my way down? And then the more I thought about it, I'm like, this makes sense because if I go, let's say I go appliance shopping, let's say I need a new fridge. I don't go into the salesperson and I'm like, show me the shittiest fridge you got. And they show me, and I'm like, oh, I can actually afford a little bit more. Show me the second shittiest. And they're like, okay, this one. I'm like, no, I can afford more. Show me the third shittiest. That's not how I shop. What I do is I go to the nicest fridge. I look at the price tag. I have a heart attack and I'm like, oh, not that one. And then I look at the second one. I'm like, can't afford that. Third one, fourth one. I can afford the fifth one. So what happens there is I go to the best appliance for the resources I have available. So that concept made a lot of sense because I'm like, if I start at the bottom, then I'm going to get the bottom opportunities. And then how do I move up in this organization? Right? Because it's a performance-based industry. So the only things I need to move up is performance. But if I'm in a company that doesn't provide or facilitate my performance, I'm stuck. And so then I was having to make these literal lateral moves of like, oh, okay, I worked with this company, they're a startup, but they didn't have lead flow. And I can't leverage that. I can't bring that to Tony Robbins and be like, hey, I just spent 2 months at a company and made one sale. I'm sure you want to hire me. Right? It's not leverageable. So what I did was like, okay, at the time, I wanted to do like either e-commerce or marketing. So I'm like, screw it. I'll just go to the very top. And what I'll do is allow myself to get rejected, take my ego out, and I'll go to number one company. And if they don't want me, so what? Who cares? Getting a no doesn't take any money out of my bank account. So I got the no. And then I went to the second best company in e-commerce and some in marketing. And they said no too. I'm 0 for 2. Oh well. I went to the third, fourth, and fifth. They all said no. Some ignored me. Some never responded. Oh well. I'm still exactly where I started, but now I'm starting to build some confidence, and I'm also starting to see what these top companies are looking for, and I'm learning a lot. One, I'm learning how to identify these companies. Two, I'm learning the lingo and how they interact. Three, I'm building some really strong relationships. And actually, some of these top companies were like, oh, we're not hiring now, but you should talk to this company. So I started getting more referrals. And one company told me, hey, you should probably reach out to these guys. And so I reached out, right? They were, I would say, I don't know exactly, but I would say they're probably in the top 10 in the e-commerce space, right? And so I reached out a couple times actually, because I didn't get a response. And I get a message back and it says, hey man, I appreciate your persistence, which is great because that was one of my mental qualities that I was developing, right? Reach out to our hiring manager. If he thinks you're good, then we'll give you a chance. And like full excitement, big company. I knew they were doing like, probably $500,000 a week. And so I'm like, this is it. This is the break I've been looking for. I reach out to that manager and he says, oh man, I'm really sorry. We just hired 15 people. You just missed it. And I'm like, oh, so close, so close. And then I was like, wait a second. Like, what just got me here? What was I just commended for? My persistence. Okay. So again, like I'm always thinking about what got me to that next point. Right. And so oftentimes when we get to a new point, we think we need to do something new to get to the next level. A lot of times we just need to do what we've been doing at a higher level. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to be more persistent. So I wrote them an email back and paraphrasing, it was basically like, hey, listen, Steve, I know that you just went through this big hiring process and that you have to be committed to these 15 people. But you and I both know if you hired 15, at some point you're going to lose a couple of those. Either some aren't going to work out, some aren't going to be reliable, and eventually you're going to have to go through this whole process again. What if you just gave me the training material, you gave me the onboarding process, you gave me the script? Don't worry about leads. If you need me to call no-show list, I'll do it. If someone doesn't show up and last minute you need someone to step in, I'll do that. Whatever you need, and there will be no, like, I don't need anything from you. He's like, you know what? That's a pretty good offer. Let's do it. So I onboarded that week. Within, I want to say 4 days, I was taking calls. Within 8 days, I had a full calendar. I think they fired 2 people in the first week. That foot in the door, right, was how I made $43,000 that month. I wasn't any better at sales. Honestly, I don't think I was worse, but I found it much easier to sell. Bigger name, more marketing, right? It's like this myth that, it's harder to sell the higher up you go. Like, to me, selling for Tony Robbins is much easier than selling for Joe Blow. Because like when someone calls in and is set up, like they know who Tony Robbins is. There's a high trust level. The marketing's on point. They've been following him. They've been saving up. Right. So when I hear like, oh, this guy sold for Tony Robbins, he must be the best. I'm like, maybe. Tony Robbins is the best. Maybe it's easier to sell. I've found that it's much easier to sell for these top companies than some of the middle or lower level. Right. So that was where the top-down strategy came from. I go to the top and I work my way down. Why? Because that provides me the best opportunities available. That was the idea behind it. All the other things that came from it, and there's probably 10 benefits that I had no idea, and I'd love to just say I'm a genius, but really I stumbled upon it by doing the opposite of what wasn't working. But like, one, the more I spent at the top, the more people started recognizing me at the top. Because like, we even say it in our language. Like, what do you say when you really respect and admire someone? What's the action? You look up to them. You look up, right? So if I'm, the 20th best personal development coach in the industry, where am I looking? At Tony Robbins. What am I looking for? What he's doing, right? So if I'm seen there, then I start getting associated with the top. The other thing that I didn't anticipate that was extremely powerful is the idea that once I'm at the top, I start getting what in boxing they call the rub. And so for anybody that watches boxing, Canelo Alvarez fought Floyd Mayweather a while back, and Canelo was at his prime, right? And they thought, okay, this is finally where Floyd was going to lose. They went in and Floyd just dummied him. He just ran over him, just made him look stupid, right? From that moment, though, Canelo has been unstoppable. Why? Because like being around excellence rubs off on you. So like the more I spent at the top, the more I started to feel what they were saying and start seeing the consistency and start seeing the gap between me and these ultra successful people. All of a sudden I had blueprint. Right? And that was, again, just starting off. Well, why do I have to start at the bottom and work my way up? And then later on, I found out that that's actually like, it's a lie that was told in the Industrial Revolution, right? They wanted people to take shitty jobs. So they said, oh, you start in the mailroom and you work your way up to CEO. How many fucking mailroom people do you know that are now CEOs? Unless they started their own business. It doesn't happen. Right? Starting at the bottom is not admirable. Maybe starting at the bottom of a great company, but starting at the bottom of a startup, like that's not a good strategy, especially when you just look at the statistics. 84% of the coaches that you see in this market right now will not be here next year. They just won't be. A small percentage of those will be successful, but that means they'll be making 20K a month, which for a lot of people, that's a great living. Can't supply or provide for a salesperson though. Okay. So really, when you look at it, we are dealing, if everybody here, I'm just going to make an assumption that everybody here wants to make 6 figures. Is there anybody here that doesn't want to make 6 figures? Raise your hand. Okay. High 6 figures, right? As high as possible. So if you want to guarantee those 6 figures, you're left with 10% of the market. 10% of the market is where the opportunities are. And where are most people spending their time? In the bottom 30%. What are the bottom 30%? Job applications and pipelines. Pipelines is someone else's business success. It's someone that realized I can teach a closer and I can teach a business owner, and these idiots will work together and they'll blame each other for the problems. I get paid 3 times. I get paid for training the closer, I get paid for training the business, and I get paid for connecting them. That's someone else's 7, 8, 9-figure business. That's not ours. Like a new closer and a new business owner, that's a recipe for disaster, right? So we need to have a higher standard for ourselves and say, what do I need to do my job? For me, it was, I need great marketing and need great fulfillment. I'll be great at sales. I'll hold myself responsible for that, but I'm not going to build your marketing process and build your sales process. That's not my job. My job in that moment was to take calls and close at a high percentage. Right? Now, if you're full stack or if you're setting or you're SDR, that's great. Do your job. But make sure that you're working with someone that does theirs. Because like I see salespeople now that are doing 66% of the business. Really, like a good business is marketing, sales, and fulfillment. Everything else you can figure out, right? There's accounting systems, yeah. But if you have a successful business, you have great marketing, great fulfillment, great sales. If you're taking the marketing and the sales off the business owner, you're doing 66% of the work. For what? 5 to 10%. And you're taking on all the risk. I can hire you all right now. Business owners realize this. I could hire you all right now and say, 6-figure opportunity, give you 10%. You're like, oh, I'm in the job hunt. This is a great job, great company. You will make 6 figures. How? Go make me 7. What? Like, yeah, that's how you make 6 figures, right? I pay you 10%. You got to go make me 7. Okay. How do I do that? I don't know. Figure it out. You go figure it out. Go make me 7. I'll give you 6 of it. If I explained it that way, I'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would I ever do that? That's 80% of the businesses that you're dealing with. And you're like, is this a good offer? It's like, well, what do you want to make? Oh, I'd like to make 20K a month. How much is the CEO making? 15. You're never going to fucking make more than the CEO of the company. You're never going to outperform revenue in a company, ever. Salesperson will not outperform revenue. Just facts, right? So a lot of people, what they're doing is volunteering. You're volunteering. You're an experiment. You're a guinea pig. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, it's commission-based. If I hired all of you right now and one of you worked out and the rest of you didn't, doesn't matter to me. Right? I keep the person that does. The rest of you just market it for me. Because that's what we don't realize is when a sale doesn't work out, there's still marketing there. You still had the conversation, you planted the seed, you got the word out. So you did a lot of work for me, but I don't have to pay for any of it. Some of those are going to come back in 3 months, but you're going to have given up because you haven't made any money. So you've just done free marketing. We have to hold ourselves to a higher standard. The problem is most people act out of desperation, and desperate efforts get desperate results, plain and simple. I started getting business results because I started treating myself like a business. I started realizing that I deserve dignity and respect. I am going to look this business owner in the eyes. They're not better than me. They're not worse than me either. I'm not talking about being cocky or being, I'm talking about showing up and being like, if you do your job, I will knock my job out of the park. That's it. But you're the business owner. So these are your responsibilities. And I am the salesperson. This is my responsibility. If you do yours, I'll do mine and we will both be successful. If not, I'm going to work with your competitor. I'm going to put $1 million up on the board for them. And you're going to see them take off. So again, it's starting to think about this, right? I understand that most of us came here from an ad, and most of us is just like one of those cartoons where, those cartoons where they like smell the pie and they just start floating towards it. That's how most of us got here, right? We smell the pie. It's like, hey, this video told me Do you hate your 9 to 5? It's like, yeah, I do hate my 9 to 5. It's like, do you hate traffic? It's like, fuck, I hate traffic. It's like, do you want to make more money in less time? Like, I want all those things. Spend more time with your family. Yeah, that's what I want. It's like, learn this one special secret, 21 days, 10K, right? We all fell for it. It's cool. Doesn't matter. But how long are you going to continue to fall for it? How long are you going to say, well, oh, those guys screwed me over and I'm not having, no, you're here now. So either fucking quit and go back or find copywriting or e-commerce, or take control and figure out how to dominate this business, because the model's there. No one here has to be a fucking pioneer. It's not like we're trying to figure out if this high ticket sales thing could be opportunistic. Someone's just done it and done it and done it thousands and thousands of times. But the problem is, you're on the track. If you're struggling, you're on the same track as other people who struggle, and you're not willing to adjust. You're not willing to say enough is enough. What I'm doing is not working, plain and simple. I didn't know what I was doing when I changed it up. I just knew I wasn't willing to do what wasn't working anymore. That's the start of something. Right? So top-down strategy, go after the big dogs. If they don't want you, go after the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, until you get the highest level available to you. Don't reject yourself before someone gets a chance because you don't like your ego hurt. Hear the no. Oh, Tony Robbins would never hire. Fuck off. You don't know that until you put your name in. And no's don't take money out of your bank account. I can hear no all day. I look at my bank account, nothing has changed. So if I shut myself down, it's a guaranteed no. If I put the action out there, it's a maybe. And I can make a killing off maybes, right? Potential. The second thing that I decided was job applications and cold outreach. I just didn't think it was working. I didn't like the return on investment. I didn't feel like I had that dignity and respect. So I started taking that business approach, right? And I thought, who is getting these opportunities? Pipelines, recruiters. They're getting the opportunities before us. When I started in high ticket sales, everybody got 15% across the board. When was the last time you heard of a 15% offer? Unless it's full stack, doing the whole business. Just don't see it anymore. How did we lose 1/3 of our commission? And this is like, I think when Hunter came in, there was still quite a few 15% offers. That's 2 years ago. Not that long. We're not talking about 1%. Like, when you're talking, imagine if you went to your bank account today and 1/3 of it was gone, assuming that you have any money in your bank account, right? But like, you would notice that all of a sudden, where are the 15% offers? Where'd they go? They went to recruiters, because they realized that people weren't taking in control. They wanted two things, right? When you came into this industry, what was it? I need to learn how to sell and I need a job. And anytime you put the words I need out there, some online marketer is like, what? What'd you say? I got you. I got you. I'll go do what you could do yourself and I'll take your 5% at scale. So what does a recruiter do? What do? They reach out to business owners. They identify a problem. They offer to solve it. What do we do as salespeople? The same fucking thing. But when it comes to selling yourself, when it comes to a job, you're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I get 60 messages a day of people, I'm a really great salesperson. It's like, beg to differ. Because you're not selling me. If you were selling me, you'd identify the problem that I have and you'd offer a solution. That's selling. Hey man, I'm a really great salesperson. I just went through such and such training. Do you have a job for me? Ugh, right? That's why people rely on pipelines. And now the pipelines are crowded. But salespeople who sell the pipeline as their solution, why couldn't we compete with them? Why couldn't we compete with cold calling salespeople or coaching sales? Why couldn't we do what they do and reach out to those businesses and say, what's up? What are you working on? Are you taking the sales calls yourself or you have a team? Great. I've noticed a lot of, unreliable salespeople. Are you struggling with any of your team? You fantastic? You're great? Okay, great. So you must be ready to scale. Have lead flow, right? Or no? Okay. So are you thinking about getting rid? Like I can just have those conversations and all of a sudden now I have a huge competitive advantage because I just found out that like a company like Sales Mentor charges $7,500 to place us. How insane is that? So if Sales Mentor reaches out to the company that you've wanted to work with, right, then it just cost that company $7,500. Think about how competitive you can be because you're free. You don't cost anything to work with. You are performance based and they only have to have one interview. You just save them time and money and headaches. We have the competitive advantage because we are so lean. We can get into places they can't. They have a big office, right? Which is funny, a remote sales company that has an office here nor there, right? But the idea is like, why can't we compete with them? That's what I started doing. I set up JD Closer Agency. I just happen to have one person for hire. It's fucking me. I started marketing myself as an agency, right? And not the business cards, not the brand, but as far as I have a service, just like if I was a Facebook ad specialist or an email marketer or a copywriter or any of these other skills, right? I would market myself. I would take on a client. Right? I would operate my own business. For some reason, sales is the only industry where it's like, please, sir, can I have a job? Right? And we go through it as job. Every other service provider pitch their service, set their terms, right? If I was going to sell you Facebook ads, I would say, hey, Hunter, I can help you do X in X amount of time, but what I'm going to need from you is high resolution images. I'm going to need access to your business account. I'm going to need some copy and we're going to need an ad budget. I can deliver, but only if you give me those things. Now, all of a sudden, we're on equal playing field. Now we can hold each other accountable. So why can't we do that in this business where it's like, hey, business owner, I can put $1 million on the board for you this year. I can be your most reliable staff, and I can also help train some of your unreliable staff. I can do things for you in this business. But what I need from you is amazing, unrelentless fulfillment. I need to know that every single person I sell will be taken care of to the highest level. And I need you committed to building the brand and building the audience. If you do those two things, right, then I will do my job at the highest level. Now it's an agreement. So I was able to get in spots that most people weren't, well beyond my experience level, to be able to make $400,000 a year because I started thinking about things differently. Right? And then lastly, I'll leave it with you on this one, right? The other thing, like I mentioned, that was the job applications, the top down. The only other thing that I changed was this cold outreach of like, hey, I'm a high ticket closer. I just went through this training. Can you help me? I'm looking for this, right? The handout. All I started doing was like, okay, what's the opposite of, I don't really like cold outreach. I can do it if I need to, but like, what am I working towards? Well, what's the opposite of cold? Warm. Yeah, like warm is better than cold. That's why I'm in Spain now instead of Canada. All right. And then what's the opposite of out is in. Warm inbound referrals. It's like if you had two phones in your office right now, one was cold calls, the other was warm inbound referral. They both ring at the same time. Which one are you picking up? Warm inbound, right? Not even a question. But then when it comes to our own service, the most important service we're going to sell, what do? As cold as possible. Hey, stranger, can you, trust me with your $1 million business? Doesn't work, right? How I liken it, the example that I use is imagine you just got your license, right? You come out and you're so excited and someone pulls up in a Ferrari And you're like, "Hey, man, can I drive that?" The guy's like, "Who the fuck is this?" And it's like, "No, no, 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 no. I just got my license. I just got my certificate." He's like, no." You're like, "Well, you have insurance. There's no risk to you. Just let me drive it." Like, this is someone's lifeblood. Sales is the lifeblood of a business. I don't hire strangers ever, ever. I've never hired a stranger. I knew Hunter. I knew Joy. I knew Vic. I haven't really, Sam is the only person I hired outside of UCM. And that was because we built a relationship. Sam and Jay Daniel. We built a relationship over time. No matter how good of a performer they were, I wouldn't have hired them right off the bat. Right. And so I was like, okay, well, I need to build trust and I need to make sure that other people are looking for opportunities for me. How do I do that? I had read about the law of reciprocity a long, long time ago in a leadership book, and it made sense to me. It's like, yeah, if someone keeps helping me, I almost feel like bad. I'm like, I got to do something for them. If it gets too out of hand, like if someone did like 4 things in a row for me, I'm like, no, no, I got to do something special for them. And usually I want to do more than they've done for me. It's a weird psychology, but it works. Right. So I'm like, well, the best way that I can get a lot of people working for me or like looking out for me or top of mind is service, of helping them, of doing the little things that they need to do. And it can be big things like referrals. It can be, connecting them with a Facebook ad specialist or email marketer. It can be getting them a job or getting them a client, or it can be little things that add up. Appreciation, compliments, recognition, all the things that I know humans want all the time. We all want to feel understood. We all want to be connected. We all want to be significant. We all want to be validated. We all want to be supported. Right? So I started just always looking for opportunities. If I could hit a home run and like get someone a client or a referral, great. If I couldn't, I'm like, what can I do? What's a single or a double? And if I couldn't think of anything, I just gave them a compliment. We know this. Like compliments feel great. What do? They warm. So I have the warm now, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm starting to build this army where people were coming to me and be like, "Hey, did you see this?" Or, "You should check out this guy," or like, "You should talk to JD." And then all of a sudden, I started building these referrals. So not only was I making $40,000 a month, which was absolute game changing money for me, I was also turning down 2 offers a week. Think about the confidence and conviction you have in your offer when you know at any time you're turning down 2 offers a week. Think about how hard you can work without fear, without doubt, without that insecurity, knowing that at any time I could pick up the phone and work a different job tomorrow. Cool. Cool. Questions? Thoughts? Application? Don't be shy. Does it make sense? Is there anything that's kind of confusing about it?
Just real quick, like what are some of the, I mean, I know obviously like complimenting others, helping them or like finding something that they might be struggling with and offering a solution. But what are some of, I guess, like some of your favorite ways of creating this warm inbound type thing? Is there anything, is it post? Is it is it commenting? What do you think is some of your top ways of creating this social debt?
Whatever someone values the most.
True.
Right. So like one thing that's like, it doesn't seem like a lot, but like there's one person on this call that 100% doesn't need to be on this call. Can you identify who it is?
Probably you.
Well, no, I need to be on it. It's my call. Who else? Yeah, Melissa. It's Hunter. Why does Hunter need to be on this call? He doesn't. There's no reason for Hunter to be on this call, but he's here. So one, all of you take notice, right? He has built, like Hunter was a student at one point. He could have got the job, made the money, disappeared like everybody else. He didn't. He constantly was looking to provide value. So now all of you are part of Hunter's Army, but also me, I appreciate that more than anything. To me, that is just like, it blows my mind the amount of calls he shows up for, that he doesn't have to. I value that. It's very simple, right? Joy. Joy 3 times a week asks me, is there anything I can do to help you? I know she's busy. I know she's cleaning up all my messes. I know that she has a lot to balance, and she still checks in 3 times a week and says, is there anything I can do to help? Sam, right? Same thing. I know that he's grinding. He's selling in a company that has basically no marketing. We're competing with $3 million a month companies that spend $300,000 in ads. And he's out there grinding every day. And still, what can I do? So the thing that I'm focused on is what people value the most. And I'm not looking at like, again, when I hear like, what's my favorite, or what's the best, that's, to me, that's a home run mentality. I'm trying to optimize it and like trying to make the biggest leap, right? Like, how many of you have reached out at an inconvenient time and I've reached back, right? How many people have I given advice before, like even on this call? How many people here are not in UCM? Right? 3, 4. Why are you here? How are you here? Because I wanted to provide value to the marketplace with nothing in return. I know that people are struggling, and I know that this might help in some way. Right? Is this going to change the world? No. But one of you might value it. One of you might remember it. One of it might pick up one thing that changes. And then in 6 months, when you're killing it, someone asks you, what was the difference maker? It was, JD invited me to this call and it just changed the way I looked at things. Right? And so the idea is not trying to hit home runs. It's just being observant. Like Hunter talks about this all the time. If you don't know what it is, you're probably not paying attention. Why? Because it's just natural tendency to look at what we want. I want to make 10K. I want to do this. I want a new job. I want. And what I've always found is like, I get whatever I want when I'm not focused on it. I get what I want from getting at least 2 people what they want. So for example, right, if I get a business owner what they want and I get the prospect what they want, I automatically get what I want, right? If I want commissions, right, get the business owner a client, get the client a solution, I don't even have to worry about mine. The only times I've ever went broke in life is when I'm focused on getting mine, because then I have no allies. Then I have to go about it alone. The times where I've made the most amount of money is where I totally forgot that I had to make money, where I totally forgot about what I wanted. And then all of a sudden I look, like I had no idea I had made $120,000 in 4 months. Sounds crazy, but like I had no idea. I was shocked. So shocked I flew to Europe and had a bit of a crazy trip, but it's for another time. All right. So the idea is like, you will get paid your direct value to the marketplace. So don't worry about getting paid. Worry about value in the marketplace. And that can be little pieces at a time. Sharing a piece of content, opening up time and space, encouraging someone, supporting someone. A lot of the clues are in us. What you value, someone else probably values as well. Right? So if you want a job, also start referring other people to other jobs that you don't want. That's an easy way. Right? It's like, what do I want? I want a job. I want money. I want clients. I want this. I want that. Go get someone else that. I guarantee it will come back to you. Plus, you'll have the longevity of the relationship. If you go out and get a job right now, whether or not that job works out, who knows? But if you build the relationships that get you a job, whether or not the job works out, it doesn't matter because you still have the relationship. Right? And so build that army based on service. Cool. Any other questions, thoughts, applications? Do we know what next steps are? Does this change anything? Yeah, we can use this. Okay. So keeping it up here means absolutely nothing, right? A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I know, I know, I know. You don't know it unless it's visible, fully visible in your life. Right. So if this was impactful, if you think that what I'm saying aligns with what you've experienced before, like my before journey, and if you want the after journey, I have to be able to see it in your life. If I don't see it in your actions, if I don't see it on your calendar, if I don't see it in your process, you don't really know it. You heard it. There's a big difference. Right. So make it visible in your life. Whatever you're working towards, whatever you want to accomplish, make it visible. Cool. All right, folks. Appreciate y'all. Any of the people that are here, just from the free group, if you have any questions or you want to reach out and talk about your situation after, let me know. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Go crush.